I just don't. I don't like the
Lads,
last one in
podcast.
particular.
Save it for the podcast.
I've actually started recording.
Yeah,
All right.
I thought we'd
Yeah,
all.
we're in the podcast. We're in the podcast.
We're
Yeah,
deep.
no,
We are deep in the podcast.
the last.
We are the podcast.
Wow. Right. Let me actually intro the episode. It's really, you sound like the fucking Terminator.
Hobbit movie, swear to me!
Fuck, in a good way, or this is just not going well for me today at all.
No, it's all right. It's all right. It's getting better. The machine is
Okay,
adapting. So we're going to be talking about fantasy, given the time of year that it is. You know, you've got the new Hobbit movie coming out. Dragon Age Inquisition just came out, and myself and Diarmuid have been playing it like it was heroin, and we were addicted to it.
The review will probably be up by the time you're listening to this.
What's that supposed to mean? Are you saying we're terrible in timing our reviews? Is that what you're implying?
No, the review is impending now, so it'll probably be up by the time this gets to the people.
Oh, all right, fair enough. Sure. Okay. Right. So, the very start.
Right now?
Yeah. So we were discussing the Hobbit. Is it a
Great
chronology?
movies. Great movies.
The Hobbit's a trilogy.
Is it? But I thought they were splitting the last movie into.
No, that's
two
Hunger
parts.
Games.
No.
Oh, so confused.
How are you confused?
But also delighted that they're not fucking splitting the last movie into two movies.
God, what would they put into it? Good lord.
All of
Extra
the
footage of
appendices.
birds.
All of the appendices, every single part of it, and half the Silmarillion. Even though they're not allowed to do anything to do with Silmarillion.
No, they're not going to put the Silmarillion in. You know,
I know,
they can't do that. He's going to be working on that. God help us all.
No, the Tolkien estate has put a block on any more movies being made based on any of Tolkien's works. So, The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies is going to be the last movie that Jackson is going to get to make.
For now, the power of money changes everything.
They don't need money. They don't really need it. But
when has needing money ever come into the factor of getting or wanting money?
That is true, but they have put a literal. They've said, look, this is that they're not making any more films because originally they'd bought the rights for The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings.
Peter Jackson is persistent. How long did it take him to get the rights to make The Lord of the Rings? But he kept trying.
He did.
No, the Lord of the Rings rights were sold back in the way before Jackson was born. Yeah.
There's been a lot of adaptations.
I mean, the thing about Lord of the Rings is, right, before Jackson ever made his films, we already had shit versions of that story in film anyway.
Yeah.
The Ralph
fucking terrible ones.
Where, I mean, as much as they're loved by my generation of Tolkien fan, the Ralph Baskin films, is it Ralph Baskin? Yeah, it's the Lord of the Rings that he made. It ends after the Battle of Helm's Deep, and then they just
forget about Frodo and the ring, and Sam and Frodo vanish.
During the production of that film, they ran out of money, and they ran out of any way of getting the film made. So it was basically a case of, well, fuck it, let's release what we have, and then at the end of it, we'll have a narrator go, and Gandalf and the Fellowship made it to Mount Doom, and they threw the ring in, and everything was hunky-dory and fabulous, and we all lived happily ever after. That was it.
Sounds pretty good.
It's terrible. So terrible.
Like, I have very fond memories of being a whippersnapper, and every Christmas, like, my whole family would squeeze into a Ford Fiesta, all 8 of us.
Where is this
and
going?
Drive back. Shut up! And you're ruining family memories for me. And we would drive back to Tralee, and we'd all go see the latest Lord of the Rings movie, and then spend hours slagging my brother Mark, my youngest brother, because he would misquote something, or in one particular case, you know that line, "I am no man, I'm a woman"?
Yeah.
He told my dad that was his favourite part, but he said the line in front of all of us. And we all just wet ourselves laughing. He was only about 9, and we all just started laughing so hard. He didn't get it, but it was funny. But then I went to see, obviously, we've got The Hobbit, and it just... The first one I thought was really pretty.
Yeah, it's quite
It's a
visually
it's
nice.
a very, very pretty
The
movie.
first one is actually a really good
But-
film if you take it as like part one of a two-part story, because it sets up
not-
like a payoff. Like
My
at the end.
main problem with the first Hobbit is that they kind of dragged it out too much and then tried to cram too much into the second one, and you end up with the second one where, you know, shit's happening, and then they've thrown things in that really don't belong. Like, where the hell is this love story coming from? Why is Legolas running around with a fake face? You just don't know what the hell is going on, and they've just crammed it all in.
My biggest problem with the first one was the High School Musical interlude
Oh,
in the
yeah.
middle of it, where they're washing dishes.
That
I
happened.
loved
Um,
that bit.
Fair enough. If it happened in the book, grand. I was sitting there and I was like, this is disturbing. Like, literally, this is the most. It was like watching the Teletubbies if they had some sort of facial hair problem. Washing dishes. I was actually terrified. I was like, what the fuck is going on? Then they leave, and then there's a weird orc dude with a fucking disgusting hand and skin condition. And then the movie's over. That was literally the first Hobbit movie.
Yeah, it's pretty easily surmised to, you know, that
According to Declan.
endless walking in the middle, walking and
Emma, you're not
talking.
going to go to that defense of our attack of the any Lord of the Rings. So you're not going to say all the walking, are you? Come on.
I'm
Seriously.
not saying
We've
all
all
the
seen
walking,
Clerks
but
2,
I'm
you
saying
know
that
that
they
argument.
dragged it out. They dragged bits out, and then it was like they kind of realized, holy shit, we didn't do enough, and we had all this to do, and holy crap, we've got a second movie. Just stick it all in there, you'd be fine. It'd be
Well,
grand.
A lot of the stuff that they added, even though, like, say, parts of the film in the first one, they weren't like the likes of the council being at Rivendell, and Galadriel having teleportation powers and all that type of thing.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff added in that, it wasn't anything in the book. But I think the way Jackson approached these three movies was that he was going to take the story of The Hobbit, which essentially was a kid's book, and turn it into something that as an overreaching arc that would lead into the Lord of the Rings films. And as far as prequels go, I can think of worse prequel trilogies out there that have been ham-fisted and taken. And
I will grant you that, but
are-
my main problem with the second film was they missed out on an opportunity to end it well. Because, you know, instead of Gandalf wandering into Dol Guldur to look for Sauron, they forget that there's an actual battle there. The council organised the battle to drive Sauron out there and to piss him off back to Mordor.
And you know
it kind of just skims right by it. It's like, doesn't exist.
But the battle happens
That's in the next film.
Battle of Five Armies and stuff.
No,
wrong.
the council arrive at Dol Guldur to drive out the necromancer. It's in the trailer. You can see it in the trailer.
I have avoided the trailer.
Does Galadriel fight?
Galadriel has moments. Elrond whips out the sword, and there's an epic moment that I thought was fantastic in the trailer. Emma, if you want to cover your ears if you don't know about it, but in the trailer you see Saruman turn and face Sauron, and he was like, "Leave Sauron to me." And he
that is a crack. That's a proper cinematic moment.
But here's the thing I take from all of this. Christopher Lee agreed to be in these films. And Christopher Lee is the biggest Tolkien fan ever.
Yeah.
Like, ever. He was schooling Jackson on the scripts for the original Lord of the Rings trilogy. And he was translating the Orcish and the Elvish for all of the cast and reading them passages from the book like only Christopher Lee fucking can. So I think that Christopher Lee is now back, because he had major problems with Return of the King, with how Saruman was dispatched and how there was no scorching of the Shire. Like, the original trilogy had its faults as well, as far as a lot of Tolkien fans are concerned. But
Tom Bombadil.
Tom Bombadil. Fuck Tom Bombadil and his weapon-giving ass.
I know.
Is a minor blip in the Lord of the Rings story. And he for the overall arc of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, he's nothing. Like, he's got a small moment. Tom Bombadil is basically the little kiddie part.
Tom Bombadil is a character based on a Dutch doll his eldest son flushed down a toilet. He did it. He put Tom Bombadil in it to troll us.
Yeah. But I think the Hobbit films so far, I think that Jackson's done actually a very good job of fleshing them out. I was very skeptical about what we were going to get with a trilogy based on a book that is smaller than any one installment.
Single of the Lord of the Rings,
trilogy.
yeah.
I was very skeptical. I was going, how the fuck is this going to work? And he took a lot of stuff from the appendices and he put it in there, and he's made a good job of it, I think. Like, you have like the diehard, like, really, there's a website or a wiki you can go into called the One Ring.
Right, yeah, that site
Right.
is amazing.
And make sure safe search is enabled when you type that in.
Or
But on the One Ring, it has a complete breakdown of all the things that are basically different in the films compared to the books. And the Hobbit trilogy, like, so far, is one of the biggest sections of the fucking website because there is so much added. And literally every explanation for why it's like, they have a pros and cons section. And literally every explanation for the con section is, Tolkien didn't write this.
Here's the interesting thing, though, about all these changes that came into it, because Tolkien himself wrote back in, God, it must have been the 30s or 40s, when a man named Zimmerman originally wanted to adapt it. Tolkien basically said, yeah, sure, go for it, as long as you keep kind of the message and the tone and the actual spirit of what he wrote going. He's quoted as saying, cash or kudos. So he's like, sure, go for it, as long as you do a good job. Zimmerman ultimately did a piss poor job that Tolkien tore the head off him. So I don't think the whole thing of, oh, they changed this and they changed that and they left this out. It's ultimately that in the original trilogy and in the Hobbit trilogy, I feel that they kind of, it's been kept going. You still have the feeling of that universe and that lore and mythos going. And I think that's really what's super important.
That is important. That's why one of the reasons I have such a problem with the Desolation of Smog more than anything else is that there's like some of the bits that are put into it just don't fit, and it's really awkward, and it's kind of like, what the hell is this going on? Why are you talking like that? What are you talking about? Where the hell are you coming getting off calling anything human? What the hell is a human? It's like some things that are just, it just doesn't sit into it. It's kind of like a puzzle shape that's just not quite right, and it's been kind of jammed kind of square into the middle of a scene. You kind of go, what the hell is this?
I think I should also explain that I am actually somewhat prejudiced against fantasy dwarfs.
Fantasy dwarves.
Racist.
Yeah.
Dwarfist.
Like, no, fantasy dwarfist. Thank you very much. Yeah, like generally as a race, in fantasy literature, they really, they're so fucking boring. Oh, our women have beards and we like gold. Great.
Oh, screw you, right?
Get out of the way and give me some elves.
Oh, Dwemer in Skyrim. The Dwemer in Skyrim have the most fucked up history ever.
Indeed.
See.
Oh my god, they do. They enslaved an entire race and blinded them and used them as slaves.
No. Like, someone tried to explain this to me as well in, like, there's dwarves in World of Warcraft.
Yeah, I think so.
Dwarves, yeah. Again, very boring fucking race. Oh, we live in mountains and caves and we mine shit.
The whole game is boring. Sorry, gamers.
No, no. There's, like, space.
Nah, I'm with Andy on this one.
Hey, you want to gain 10 levels? Oh, you got the 10 levels. I'll go to the cave. You want to gain another 10 levels? This game doesn't end. Cycle of endlessness. You will starve to death playing this game.
No, you...
Or just get bored.
Seriously? But, no, my point then would, like, moving on from The Hobbit, because we could literally spend... Yes, there is a point to my prejudice.
I was wondering.
Just to say, I have no problem with, like, most of the storytelling in the Hobbit films. My problem is mostly the fact that they look horrible. The CGI just doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah, the CGI is it's such a divisive point.
Because everything is kind of painted with CGI in the Hobbit films, particularly in Desolation of Smaug. I found a lot of that was like, it had this kind of shine to it that it was obviously
this
in
weird coat. Oh.
And
I never thought Orlando Bloom's face could ever get creepier.
And it just very aesthetically, like, it really unsettled to me. Like, and I liked the Hobbit one, and I want to be excited about the third one, but I have a funny feeling I'll watch the third one and just see this big, huge CGI battle and not feel attached to anything that happens because it's so obviously CGI, you know?
I think that's kind of sad because I think the Lord of the Rings trilogy still has some of the best CGI that stands up to repeat viewing.
Oh, totally. Like, that's the thing. I love the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It's like the three of them put together, like Two Towers is just an absolute joy to behold to this day. Like, and Return of the King with its never-ending endings.
Oh, it's my family have a Christmas Day tradition. Every Christmas Day we watch all three special extended edition Lord of the Rings.
We could actually just spend all day watching all the endings
Yeah.
for Return of the King.
All of the Lord of the Rings. Just we start in the morning and then we're watching them all throughout the day. So like while you're eating food, there's battles going on in the background. It's great.
That sounds like Christmas to me.
Yeah, that's what we do as well. We spend Christmas Eve the first one, and then Christmas Day the second one, and then Stephen's Day the third one. Because there's usually a big debate in the middle of it.
I watch. I've started watching Studio Ghibli films on Christmas Eve. Miyazaki ones, of course, because they're all magical.
So
Declan, what was the reasoning for your dwarfism?
Yeah, prejudice.
Hey, fantasy dwarfism. Let's get that clear. I was going to ask, right, if you were to be written as a character in a Tolkien book of your choosing, what kind of race or class?
Numenorian.
Did he just say human? Did the machine just say he wants to be a human? No, Jim, seriously.
He said Numenorian.
No.
What's Numenorian?
What?
Your
What?
mother.
Thank you.
Lads, I'm not a big fan of the fucking Lord of the Rings. Okay?
I have no idea what the fuck's going on.
So is anyone going to explain to me what a Numenorian is, or am I just gonna?
The men of Numenor, they came from they're like from Atlantis, the Tolkien equivalent of Atlantis. Shut up! They're like supermen. They're Aragorn is one of the last of the Numenorians. That's where his blood came from. Elendil and Isildur, they were Numenorians, so they live exceptionally long, and they're better than normal shitty humans.
Except when it comes to resisting temptation, because then they suck.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's the
Isildur's
point
a
of the
bitch.
line. That's the point.
Isildur is a bitch.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd probably be a scruffy human ranger. I wouldn't be a Numenorian, but I'd probably still be human.
I just think highly of myself because I'm a law student. Go on.
Then you'd be an elf because they're just full of self-importance.
Yeah, true.
Hey, shut it.
That's what they are.
Yeah.
I mean, I would probably pick a scruffy ranger, fucking hobo type person, because I wouldn't be an elf. I'm not an elf. I'm not elf material. No fucking way am I elf material. I'm too crass for that type of shit. So yeah, either that or a tall dwarf.
Yeah, I'd probably be a dwarf as well. In fact,
I'd probably be a Balrog.
Balrog of Morgoth.
Yes. What would you be, Declan, huh?
Yeah.
That's right.
Walking around in my little white dress thinking I'm amazing.
How does that stay clean? I don't understand. She's walking through. What if it rains and she's does she ever get muddy?
So go to Penny's and get a new one.
How dare you. No, I still remember the first Lord of the Rings movie when she resists the temptation of the ring, and it's like that's just that fucking scene where it's like instead of a dark lord you'd have a dark queen. I was like, oh hell yeah, give her the fucking ring. And
Yeah, I couldn't really see you resisting the ring, Declan.
oh fuck no. give me.
Hey, Declan, you want to show you his ring? Yes. 2 seconds later, oh god damn it, Declan, no me.
Why did we give him the ring?
Whose bright idea was it to give Declan the ring? It wasn't me. I voted for the other guy.
The other guy.
Under Declan.
Yeah, I mean the thing about I love the Tolkien story. I do find that it does limit itself with its it's actually quite ironic. It has vast fucking history to it, but it limits itself in a way of storytelling because everything is so confined in the way the story is. It's so big. It's such a big universe that they play in, but everything is just limited to these particular characters, these particular classes and types of races. And like,
Yeah.
if you read the Silmarillion, if you ever do, and it's if
Yeah,
It's a
if
great
you
it's
book.
read
pretty
it,
That's a great
expansive.
book.
yeah, if you do
It's
read
a
it,
great
read the other
confusing
ones.
book.
Yeah, read the other ones first to get a grasp of the language, because the Silmarillion to read it is like, what the fuck am I reading? This doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
That's,
Um,
in fairness, I just learned how to pronounce
well,
it today.
you probably need the cliff notes to read this.
Yeah.
It's
It
quite
feels like you're back
expansive
in
as
school.
well. It's
Yeah.
quite expansive as well, and there's a lot of names. He drops like about 50 names in the space of like 2 paragraphs, like son of whoever, son of brother of, and you're
Yeah.
going, I don't actually know where I am in the family tree anymore.
And also,
Who is
it
this?
feels like it was like the first time that he kind of he did that, like he was writing and trying to get the scope of the world into the stories he was telling. Because with Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, it kind of feels like he's like, well, this world exists, but this story is what you should be focusing on. Whereas Silmarillion, he's like, can I make people feel like they're in the world while also telling them the story? And the result is you're just kind of sitting there wafting through pages. I mean, it's great if you're into it, but like if you're not, you're just wafting through pages and pages of like, who is this?
It's
Why?
like if Middle Earth had a heritage.com, and heritage.com was a superior AI who decided to write a fantasy book. That's what the Silmarillion is.
I think that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
I like the expansiveness in the Silmarillion of the elven races, because it's kind of, they're very two-dimensional in the Hobbit, and because you're only really introduced to wood elves, and you have Rivendell elves, and you're not really kind of getting
They're very
the scope
reactive
of
as
it.
well. Like they
Yeah. In like, they've
kind
got
of
fire. They've got fire in the Silmarillion. They're, headstrong,
fire.
and they're aggressive. They kind of, I want this. I'm gonna go after this. I don't like the way you're kind of doing it. I think I'm gonna kill you now, or let's split off and do our own thing. They're really kind of, they do stuff. They're not really kind of, as passive. Oh, let's just let the world sort out their own problems, and we'll just
Well, it
hold
is.
back here until the last
The
minute.
Silmarillion is basically the start of it, especially, is the birth of Middle Earth and how it
Yeah.
becomes what it is, and who, like, you have the Dark Lords,
Play the
Morgoth,
bum
all
note.
that things. What?
I'm heralding back to a random song, old Irish song, where in the middle of it there's a big fight and somebody goes, "You played a bum note."
Well, yeah.
I'm sorry, when you just said the birth of Middle Earth, it just sounded really gross to me. I was like,
That's exactly how you're imagining it right now. Just,
I was like, I did not picture something pretty there. Right, from The Hobbit to Dragon Age.
See,
Yeah.
Dragon
What
Age.
is what is the story in Dragon Age? I haven't played it. Can anyone like summarize it in like a couple of
well,
words?
you're in an age, right? You're in an
No.
age, right?
No,
of
you
these
really
Where
fellas.
there's
can't.
dragons,
Dragons,
I take it.
right? And in the first one, it's the origin of this age, and the second one,
Second
and
one.
the third one, right? Third one, no one ever expects a Spanish Inquisition.
Glad we got that joke out of the way.
Oh man, I
Yeah,
seen it and I just
there
was
we
like, yes.
I saw my chance and I'm taking it. Fuck you guys.
Well, it's kind of no, it's difficult to summarize the story between the three titles. But
Well, the second one doesn't
there
even like react to the story of the first one at all, which is really.
well, it does, because when you play the first one, the decisions you
Oh
make
yeah, I
in the
know,
first
but it
game.
doesn't react to the ending
Well,
of the first one at all.
Well, yeah, the end, the blight ending does.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
the new one doesn't even react to the ending of the second one at all in the same
Yeah,
sense.
well, because it's Kirkwall, so
Yeah, and
um,
even in the bigger scheme of things, Kirkwall doesn't seem to actually play as big a part as you would imagine.
yeah, I was like, what? Yeah, they mentioned Hawk like twice. I was like, wow, great, thanks, cheers.
Yeah, because
I did all that shit for nothing. But no, the World of Dragon Age, it kind of, each game kind of sets up
its own narrative, its own setting.
yeah, and within that, then there has been themes running throughout. So you have, in the first game, you learn quite quickly that magic is a big no-no. Like,
No one
you
likes
don't-
mages.
No one likes mages. Mages are to be feared, and they're locked within some basically prisons known as the Circle. And if a mage goes rogue, or if a mage gets too powerful, they basically lobotomize
This sounds like
them.
my kind of game.
It's deemed being made tranquil. They make the mages into these passive creatures
Metaphor.
that basically serve that serve until they're serve their masters until they're dead. It's so, and then the circles then are kind of protected or guarded by the Templars. So basically, you have the circle full of powerful mages being oppressed by somewhat corrupt Templars.
Help! I'm being oppressed.
Pretty much.
That's Anders in a nutshell.
That is
Hey!
pretty perfect.
Not. He's got justice.
I love Anders. He's my favorite game age.
Yeah, I know. I fell in love with him.
Oh, get over yourself.
But
Oh no, he's
no.
great. Don't you slag Anders. He has
Yeah, you
had
leave him alone.
so
He was
much
really
happen
nice.
to him.
He has.
They took away his cat for fuck's sake.
Yeah, literally, he is the most unluckiest character I've ever come across in a video game. But in the first Dragon Age, you're coming up against something known as the Blight, where Darkspawn, basically demons, are escaping onto the surface
And destroying the potato crop.
slaying- Pretty much. Actually, the first place you do go to
Yep.
is a farm. So you then have to stop them, and there's this whole Grey Warden stuff going on. But you explore the world around you, and you get to basically impact various political events and stuff like that. And depending on what you choose, you can then carry forward into the next title. So, you know, if you chose to be friends with these people or protect the mages, or, you know, sided with the Templars, if you protected the mages, they get more inspired to kind of stand up for themselves. If you protected the Templars like you more, but the mages are more pissed off and more aggressive in the second game. And then the second one then is based in a cityscape known as Kirkwall. And there's various things going on. You've got the elves, who, by the way, in the Dragon Age universe are not pretty people.
And they're also very
they're-
Irish.
Yeah, they're very Irish. They look like Gollum.
Gollum.
Gum.
They're all very, top of the morning, I'll kill you with me blood magic kind of shit going on with them.
Well, it's top of the morning. Please don't beat me.
And also, we're
they're-
better than you.
There's two types of elves in the universe. In this, that you've basically got your elves who live within the city and are treated as second-class citizens, practically slaves, and then elves who live outside the city but are traveling nomads, known as the Dalish.
They're a lot like Rivendell elves.
The Dalish.
Well, no, like as a frame of reference, because they're far more, they have a far greater sense of nobility, and they're far more in tune with their culture.
Yeah,
shit.
they're like the kind of if Rivendell. Yeah, it's like if Rivendell elves and Wood elves had babies, you'd get the Dalish.
More or less.
And now in Dragon Age 3, the Inquisition, a lot of the events that were kind of bubbling in Dragon Age 1 and 2 are kind of coming to the boil, particularly the Mage and Templar issue. And there's this big meeting hosted by Divine Justinia of the Chantry, some sort of
Pope.
religious organization that, she's basically the Pope. And she speaks for Andraste, who's married to God. And she basically says, look, mages come and Templars come and we'll have a talk and hopefully we'll try and
Declan, you're describing it like it's a fucking children's book. And then
we might have
the Inquisition came and everyone went home and had tea. The end. Please God, I fucking
I will buy a
hope
PS4
it ends
tomorrow.
like
That's what
that.
happened.
Hey, some of us don't know the story and we're on a time limit.
There's no tea.
Yeah.
There's no tea. I played it for 50 hours. There's no tea.
And that's why it all kicks off, because nobody brought fucking tea.
Sure, that's the basis
And
for a
so-
good negotiation. Like, tea.
Someone assassinated the Pope, so
I couldn't care about that now. They brought tea to the assassination.
but you get caught in the middle of it. There's this huge kind of explosion at the meeting. You are the only survivor of it, and you wake up with this strange mark on your hand, and a hole in the sky has been ripped open known as the Breach, and demons are escaping from there now, and you have to stop it because you're the only one that has the ability to close the rift. But obviously, in the middle of that, the Chantry is falling apart. The Templars and Mages are trying to kill each other. Innocent people caught in the way, and political strife, etc., etc.
Shit hit the fan, basically.
Literally, and they just keep throwing shit at the fan. Like the
And
fan
then the
is
fan
clogged with
rates
shit,
and everything. Oh, just
and no one has the fan,
Yeah.
and they're still throwing shit at it.
What bastards.
Yeah, but no, it's actually, and I don't care. It's my game of the
Same.
year.
Same.
flat out.
Literally nothing touches it.
You know the way you guys run about, and this isn't. I don't think it's. Do you think the? Okay, you know that when you guys run about Saruman, that quote, "Leave Sauron
Yeah.
to me," that big cinematic thing. This game is packed with those.
That's pretty cool.
Like literally these moments where a character, you like, and I'm kind of referring to Liliana in the alternate universe.
Oh my God, yeah.
You're trapped in an alternate universe where this one asshole has turned the entire world upside down, because he's
Incidentally a
manipulating
mage.
Incident.
Yeah. While yeah, but you rescue some of your allies that you've been journeying with from within the dungeons, and he's been experimenting on them, and you rescue them, and you get to this kind of, oh shit, all hope is almost lost. We have to get you back, and your first two run out. And they're like, we'll slow them down for as long as we can. And like 2 seconds later, they're obliterated by the army outside the door.
And you see their corpses get flung in the door. It is traumatic.
Yeah, they're dead. It is like literally these people that you've selected to be in your party are just tossed through these huge wooden doors like ragdolls. And one of the characters you can't shoot. She has been in the other games, Liliana. She just turns around and she's standing between the army and you, and she just fires arrow after arrow after arrow at everything coming at her, and she the entire time she's reciting the Chantry's prayer, and it's just like I had actual goosebumps all over just watching it. And it's not even, it's not done like a cutscene, kind of Final Fantasy-esque. It's still using the same graphics you're watching or you're playing every bit here and there, but this game is phenomenal.
And that's not even one of the most striking bits of heroism.
Yeah.
There's like at least 5 others. It's jam packed. It's one of easily the best fantasy game that I've played. Like, yeah.
Well, it's definitely the best game of the year for me, and that's not an exaggeration. Like I absolutely, I got the game 3 or 4 days in
Son
advance.
of a bitch.
I have not left. I've only just left the main, like the first area called the Hinterlands. Now I've been exploring little bits and pieces, but I've literally walked around the entire area of the Hinterlands, staring at the dirt, or looking like the ground beneath your feet looks amazing. Like the scenery in the background, everything.
It's a nice boulder.
Wow, look at that fucking rock over there. Jeez, there's a goat on top of it. Wow.
Quick, kill the goat.
Yeah, quick, kill the goat. It might have ram's meat on it. Cue me chasing a goat around half of the hinterlands. But like the first game was very much, oh, it's a great story, but it's kind of meh in terms of mechanics and combat system. The second game was, oh, they really nailed the combat system, but the story kind of fell apart. The third game, Jesus.
The third game, they're basically like, we fixed everything. There's nothing wrong. If you say something's wrong, I'm going to come to your house and beat you.
We worked so hard on this.
It's like
No.
Oh no, I was just saying that I played the game. I literally spent my entire weekend at it. I can't think of one thing wrong with it. And when you play some games, you just kind of ignore some stuff. Like I ignored a few things with Shadow of Mordor because I was like, overall it's really good. With Dragon Age, there's nothing. It's like everything is so just it's just
It's spot on.
Yeah, I literally don't have words.
So like if any of you are kind of like, oh, I don't know if I'll get it or not, get it, and if you don't like it, check yourself into a hospital because
Do you want to?
there's something
Do you want to
wrong.
buy me a PS4 so I can get it?
No.
All right.
Anto,
Well,
if you comment on the arcade a lot, you could win,
You could with an Xbox
and then you
One.
could get Dragon Age Inquisition on it.
hey, wait a minute! Didn't the deputy editor win that competition? Yeah. Nothing shady about that at all.
Sure, Anto, you're fairly shady anyway. No one would mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's entirely why I write for the site.
Oh, that Anto.
Yeah.
So is there? All right, we've done The Hobbit. We've done Dragon Age. We've talked about races and classes.
One really good thing in Dragon Age, actually, that I just want to bring up, like, super quickly, because, you know, BioWare, they have this pretty good track record for being mostly inclusive in the characters in the way that they've really good, like, LGBT and all that representation, and really fantastically done gay and lesbian characters.
It's okay done. It's not done brilliantly.
I
Done
won't say it's, yeah, fair point, but I will say that it's done better than, or at least they put a better effort into it than.
They're actually trying to do it, whereas most companies just don't.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. And one of the really cool things that they went for in this game is they actually have like a fully explained transgender character in one of your companions' mercenary groups, and they actually go into it and explain it a little in obviously
That's cool.
the universe it's set in, because it's brilliant, and yeah, fair play BioWare and all that.
I kind of want to interject on that comment about the depiction of LGBT characters within, particularly Dragon Age. I know obviously they do it in Mass Effect, but I can't really comment so much on that because I'm not a big Mass Effect fan.
Well, there's your problem, at the end.
Well, no,
Declan,
sorry.
you got to sort
I
that
like
out.
no. I like the Mass Effect. I really like Mass Effect games.
Oh, I'm sure you do.
All right. But if someone put a console in front of me and said you can only play one of these for the rest of your lives, I'm going to pick Dragon Age. I'm not, like, when it comes to my games, I much prefer walk around the forests shooting rams than walk around on an alien planet shooting space rams.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Those fucking space rams.
That's fucking base rams. Oh wait, that sounded wrong. But we, like, the first Dragon Age game, when it was this holy shit, I can fuck.
What? Where are you going?
rams.
I can, oh my god! I can seduce and develop a relationship with a character. Wow, I'm actually so embarrassed.
We've all done it. It's okay.
Another male character. Like, I was like, wow.
Yeah, no.
That's
like,
unreal.
yeah, no, I was very much the same when in Mass Effect when it gave me that option. The only problem with, I don't know if it was the same with, it was exactly the same with the way Dragon Age worked out for you, but like with Mass Effect, it felt a bit like they kind of just make everyone bisexual and have it that one of them is going to work out to be like gay, so you can enact that relationship. I would have rather that like some of the characters were like just gay and then kind of like I like they turn you down or you turns them down kind of thing, and I kind of had it flop or like so it actually felt like it didn't just feel like the game was just
silences in the gameplay where we're like, no, I'm not actually gay, man. Sorry.
yeah
Shit.
no
Well,
that's the thing.
Oh.
That's the way it's been till now.
You had to say like you gave you the dialogue box of like you basically told him no, I'm not gay. I would have rather that like have it that say I would be trying out a male character, and the male character would just suddenly say, "Oh no, dude, I'm really not, I'm not into you that way," kind of thing. Like I'd rather have it that like the NPC reacted to you in that way as well, so it gave a feeling of like it actually felt like they were that their sexuality was defined within the game.
Real life rejection.
They do actually do that in Dragon Age Inquisition.
Dorian.
Yeah.
I was like, let's see, creates. I've two characters. I'm playing most. For some reason, I've opted to play the rogue class.
Yeah, same.
And I always pick mage. I go mage all the time. But I just said I'd try it a little bit different. Now I'm still an elf. But there's one of the first characters you come across is He's basically the military commander for the Inquisition. And I was hitting on him left, right, and center.
Oh, you were in there quick, were you?
And straight away, I was like, "Hello." um, just slide up to him with 2 cocktails, a wink, wink. And
so about this Inquisition, eh?
How about you Inquisition
Ooh.
me?
So if you want to go to your room, like I'd be totally into that. Just throwing it out there.
Well, that's kind of like the first conversation you have with him. It's this kind of like I was like, what's that? The option to kind of it's a little heart and you click that and it's like a little bit of flirty banter. And you're like, oh wow, I think he was kind of into me. I was like, oh, that's kind of cute. And then you go away and the storyline furthers a little bit and you get to come back and you can obviously talk to him again and push the storyline a little bit, the relationship a little bit more. And straight out the bat, it was like, nah, dude, sorry, not gay.
That's cool. See, like at least that's cool because the game has told you
That's why
like
I went with a female elf.
Hey, babe. No, I was like, and like I was actually a little bit disappointed and he was like, look, I hope, and he actually kind of said something along the lines of like, I kind of hope we can just still be friends because that's what you're asking, I'm not able to give you, so sorry, shoulder punch.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, shut down a fucking video game. Nice.
I love that. Real
work.
life rejection is now entered the gaming world.
And there was this kind of pang of, well, screw you.
I could just imagine like commenting on like BioWare's message boards before Dragon Age Inquisition came out, being like, God, I hate how like ill-defined the sexuality is in the games, and then playing English and being like, God, I hate how sexuality is so defined in their video games. It's just more like bio shit. Am I right?
Oh. No. So right, okay, we all picked our races and our classes. Is there okay? What was everyone's kind of first real kind of experience with the fantasy genre? Or does anybody have anything that kind of like I mean, and I'll plug it because it's the Arcade's book club, and I'm just over halfway through it now. Wayne, it's freaking phenomenal. I'm reading The Copper Promise. It's this month's book club, and Therese is reading it at the moment. Lads, pick it up because I had it, and I put it on the bedside locker, and I was like, I will read it, and I kept putting it off. Because I have a stack of stuff to get through.
I'm drowning in pages. I'm just drowning in it. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, literally, if my bookshelves collapse, that'd be just the end of me. Like,
you did. But no, I picked it up, and it was like that instant. Oh, okay, I'll keep reading, and then all of a sudden, it's like 4:30 in the morning, and you're like,
I love books like that.
Come on, book, come on.
And you're kind of sitting there, you're waiting for like a short chapter, so you can be like, okay, one more chapter, and then it ends in 2 pages, and you're like, yes, done, and then just go to sleep.
Yep. So I would definitely pick it up, but a lot of people are like, obviously we've got some serious fucking Lord of the Rings fans, and obviously then there are people that are diehard Harry Potter fans.
You enjoy a bit of Harry Potter,
I like the Harry Potter movies. I didn't like the Harry Potter books. I liked the first book. I really fucking hated the Chamber of Secrets.
I love Chamber of Secrets is my favorite Harry Potter book. That book is the first. Is the first book to genuinely, simultaneously creep me out and then keep me enthralled. Like, I think it was one of the first times where I really realized that like the horror genre captivates me the way it does. I just loved like the way they do the snake and everything, the basilisk in Hogwarts and stuff. Like, that's very like, especially when you're like 11 or 12. That's very creepy stuff, man.
No, I just like me personally. No, I couldn't get. I actually, it was the first time I'd picked up a book in a long like that. I read The Philosopher's Stone. I ate the book, like, but I couldn't get through
Just they're sitting there like, oh yes, so good.
But like for me, like I'm a huge Trudy Canavan fan, and the Age of Five, the Black Magician's Guild, absolutely phenomenal series. But if I like my first real proper kind of, oh my god, these are the greatest books I've ever read, and everybody should be reading them all. These should replace all school books. His Dark Materials.
Oh yeah, Jesus, that's so phenomenal.
Like I remember, I got the 3 books as a gift, in like this little box, and I remember reading pick up the first one and just wow.
Still incredibly
I was
well.
hooked.
Like the stuff Pullman is doing with his characters and the narratives and stuff that he's doing in those books. Like I still haven't read anything that's kind of really truly comparable to what he got away with in those books. Like,
yeah, no, I was moved. Like literally every book, just this huge, powerful emotional reaction out of every book, every scene, and like it goes into everything, spirituality, mental health, family, there's like this man literally takes, everything apart and looks at it from all different angles, and like I know people are like, it's a fucking children's fantasy book. It's like,
what's the name given to the companion animals again? Yeah,
daemons.
the daemons, like the kind of how they use those to kind of like for kind of self-reflect for kind of metaphors for self-reflection with, especially with like, because you're dealing with teenagers for the most part, like using them as a kind of catalyst for like self-reflective conversations and stuff is just like there's conversations where you're just reading it being like, I've had this conversation with myself. I've genuinely sat there and like gone through this kind of this thought process with myself, and there he is kind of perfectly mapping it out in such a way that it feels natural and stuff. It's just,
see, that was always one of my favorite things, because obviously you've Lyra and Pan, and she looks to Pan for for advice, and she ignores it. It's that way. It's that thing that we all do.
It's the pang between what we want now and kind of knowing that like this isn't like, it's kind of like knowing that we've been told that this is a bad thing to do, but having to find out for ourselves that it's a stupid thing to do.
To still do it. But what I loved most about it was then obviously when Will is introduced, and obviously Will is from, I suppose, he's from a different place, and he's completely, there is no Daemon there.
And how they immediately react to that, kind of like, you exist, but you exist without a Daemon. What?
Yeah, what the hell are you?
And there's no even like, it's kind of it's done in such a way that like the characters there's no logic behind them being like, in that typical scene where there's no logic behind why they're ostracizing him at first. It's just a thing of like, he's different, therefore lesser immediately, like.
Yeah. Anybody else fangirling over fantasy books?
I think after, because the first one that I was ever introduced to, I think it was about 8 or 9. My mom gave me the Lord of the Rings and that kind of. But I think after that, I didn't read for a good while, and then I kind of came across Ian Irvine, The Well of Echoes.
Oh yeah, I've heard of it. It's good.
Yeah, and that's like enormous books, and God, waiting years and years for them to kind of come out. And I think that was the first time I've ever come across in like a book where the writer punishes like every one of his characters so much. Like, I fancy crippling my character today, and having to drag themselves through, horrible, terribly painful situations, and maybe they'll die at the end of it. I haven't decided yet. It was really kind of like, and he kills off his characters like, you'd wander out the front door down to the shops. It's just casual, oh, yeah, dead. Let's move on to another one.
George R. Martin now, it's like,
yeah, Ian Irvine has done it all before.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I really love Clive Barker's books, if anyone's ever read them.
Yeah, I read all. Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm,
look.
kind of, I'm listening intently to what everyone's saying, and then I realized, oh shit, I'm actually a part of this. Yeah, I've read all the Barker stuff as well. They're phenomenal. All the Books of Blood
Yeah.
and all of his
Yeah,
stuff.
no, I'm
Fantastic.
I'm on book 2 of the Aberrat now.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well,
Really enjoying
the
it.
Hellbound Heart and Aberrad, and there's a
Yeah.
few other ones.
Candy
Yeah.
Quackenbush is like, she's a pretty incredible little character that Clive has done, and some of the stuff he gets away with writing her happening to her is pretty. That dude knows horror. He knows how to wriggle into your mind and just
We
kind
know
of
it's,
like,
big
Well,
time.
he is
Like-
like Hellraiser.
yeah, no, but see, that's the thing. He's kind of Hellraiser. It kind of betrays him a little bit because Hellraiser's obviously a very visceral, like, kind of horror film, but his literature is far more subdued than that. The horror in his book, I find, is less it's less about kind
In
of
your
gore.
face.
Yeah, it's more kind of like something like it'll happen in the books, and then you'll come away from it, and then it'll be like lunchtime the next day, and you'll just be sitting there for a second. Your mind will drift to it, and then you'll start realizing just how kind of horrifying it is. Like,
His writing is like a brain worm. It just slowly burrows into your brain and just kind of sits there and waits. And then you think more about it, it's more dark and kind of like, oh, it's fucked up.
yeah, like the Deverat is a guy who half his head is subdued in a tank of water, and in the water are these worms that are constantly like hitting off his skin, and the worms are actually nightmares that he made flesh, and that's just like who he is and how he exists. And the nightmares are like this kind of circle of ecstasy. Like the nightmares, them reacting to him is giving him like a short burst of kind of ecstasy, like happiness from his own nightmares. It's like this circle of horror. It's good stuff.
I'm not going to fucking eat.
I have a fuck ton of stuff that I read when I was younger that I have forgotten now at this stage. But the one writer that got to me at a very, very early age that kind of shaped my brain the way it is Terry Pratchett.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's done that with so many people, but I was very lucky to, like, I think I started reading Terry Pratchett when I was about 15.
That is the perfect age. Like I started when I was later, and he's one of those authors that I wish I had discovered when I was in like my teenage years. Like it just kind of
the likes of Guards and The Life Fantastic, all that type of stuff. It's just phenomenal writing, and all of the characters he created, from Rincewind right through to Carrot, like all the characters, like they would be my two favorite. Rincewind and Carrot, Corporal Carrot would be two of my favorite characters he's ever just. But any like Vimes, any of the characters that he did for the Guards, like they're some of the best stories that I've ever read. Thud as well was a great one. Night Watch was a brilliant book, and that's one of the more recent ones as well. But they're ones that you should seek out if you haven't read them. Definitely seek out Terry Pratchett, because the beautiful thing about his books is, even though they're all interconnected, they're all set in this one universe of Discworld, you could pick up any one individual book and start with that and work your way out to the rest of them. You don't have to start at the very, very first one. You don't have to. There's no particular timeline, because all of these books are so self-contained, but also will become part of a bigger universe. That's how good they're written, and that's the sad thing about the condition that he has at the moment. Like what he will have until his dying day, where he's slowly but surely losing himself, and that's what made. I was in bits when I found that out, when it was announced that he was suffering from, I think it was a certain case of dementia, and he was slowly but surely disappearing. And it was like, for a man with such a brain and such a talent to be eaten away by something that, is just fucking disgraceful. Other books that I read though over the years, that any series of books that I would recommend, the Shannara, the Elfstone of Shannara, the kind of the Sword of Shannara.
I was given Shannara, and I was like, what? I hadn't heard of it, and holy hell, it's like, I think, like, for me, because I mean, there is with Shannara there is a lot of, and we're walking, but it's not like, you're not. It was never, for me, it was never like the Lord of the Rings for me. It was very much a case of, Christ, like, there's a lot of development as they go along, like where it was a case of, well, this is the Shire, and that's old Farmer McGee's house there, and he's not a hobbit.
10 years
ago,
An old farmer McGee kept a diary with his wife, and in that diary he wrote the tales of his fathers and his father's fathers.
And let us go into that story now.
With
All right,
Shannara
right.
though, it's like it started that Terry Brooks really like created a great universe to like explore. Originally, like with
He
the
created a
trilogy,
fucking terrifying universe.
I love them though. They're great. And you know the
Yeah.
thing about them is I had the old copies of the books that have the old classic Dungeons and Dragons look covers. So the artwork is just like, I tie it all together. Like, I mean, to me, they're all linked in with the Dungeons and Dragons stories as well. I'm very happily rediscovered a lot of my like old books that I have recently when I was cleaning around the house and stuff, and I found the Shannara series that I have and the later Shannara books that aren't as good as the older ones, but they're still great. And I kind of started to get back into them. But the later fantasies that I got into, there's one particular story that I felt went on a bit too long. For people that kind of go on about Lord of the Rings being large and big, and it is still only 3 books, but the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan.
Oh yeah, I've read like fucking 6 of them, and I took
Yeah.
a break from after the 6th one because they're Jesus. If you want a fantasy series that you can really sink your teeth into, there's a series of books you can really sink your teeth into. Bloody hell.
I think Robert Jordan, or his real name, James Oliver Rigney Jr., I think he died before he finished them. Or
He did.
His
He
son
gave
or somebody, Brandon, I think it was, what's his name? Brandon Sanderson, I think.
I thought it was his son that was finishing
Was it
them
his
off.
son? There was
I think
another
it was.
guy involved though. I think a guy called Brandon Sanderson helped finish the series as well. But and there's prequels to this series. It's like, so there's the original Wheel of Time series, and then there's prequels to that series. Like there's at least one book. I think it's something Spring or something. It's
Yeah.
called.
Yeah, it's Brandon Sanderson is the other author. I was wrong.
Yeah.
It's not his son.
Like the Wheel of Time series it starts off really well and it gets going and it's like, yeah, it's a great fucking series. I'm like, when I started I thought, there's only about 5 books, a grand, I'll hear through those, and I was like, hang on, it's not finished.
It keeps going.
There's like, holy shit, what the hell? So I think in total, I'm trying to remember how many books there are. I think there's close to 14 books.
That sounds about right.
And they're looking like each of these books come in and roughly, they start off, the first one is about 700 pages long. I think the first one's called The Eye of the World. The next one then is 600 or so pages. The last book clocks up around 900 pages.
Yeah.
Like these are all tomes, like they're big volumes. So they're not like, these aren't like small installments of a story. They're big stories. Now, some of them are great, some of them aren't. But I think the first 5 to 6 for me were great.
Yeah, no, I've thoroughly enjoyed like that thing. The first 5 definitely are just phenomenal. Like, and they tell, it's not a fully self-contained story, but there's a little sense of kind of closure at the end of the 5th one, which is nice. It gives you kind of a little bit of a reprieve, so you're not just sitting like constantly on edge at the end of the story. Like,
Since we're still talking about books, I don't know if you guys have heard of it's a series of books, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell.
No, sir.
By Susanna Clarke. Anyone?
No.
Yeah.
No?
I've heard.
I got them.
I've heard of them.
No. I got it as a gift. I get books as gifts an awful lot. Like I think my family.
I don't know what to get him. Get him a book.
We forgot to get him something.
Yeah.
Get him a book.
Have
have magic. Yeah, it'd be fine.
no book policy this year. In my
Oh my god.
Oh, fuck that. No, books are awesome. Books are the best fucking gifts.
My sister
fine,
got
yeah.
me a
Fine.
book
When you
for
have,
like one of my last Christmas presents, and the book was just every level of just fucked up. I don't know what my sister thinks I'm into, but I really.
You're into this stuff, aren't you? Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are.
You jerk bird.
Rams.
But if you guys get a chance, you should pick it out. I'm not usually a fan of the kind of, obviously with the exception of his Dark Materials, this kind of alternate kind of Earth timeline history kind of scenario. Generally, if I like my fantasy, I like it to be in a world that the author has created, entirely fresh. But Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell is based in kind of like an alternative. It's an alternative world based on our own, set in England during the Napoleonic Wars, and magic is a thing practiced by
This
English
is actually,
gentlemen.
you know what? This has actually been made into either a TV series or a movie by I think it's either FX or HBO.
It's being made into one.
It is being made into one. There was images released online.
Hold on.
There was images being released online. I think in the last couple of weeks.
Adaptations and sequels.
So I nearly swear I saw pictures of this online during the week.
2012, it was announced a 6-part adaptation will be done for BBC for broadcast on BBC One. Is that what you're talking about? Oh, that's already aired though. Oh no.
There's another one I saw. I did see. Give us the title again there, Declan. Let me Google machine this thing.
Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. There is a script being worked on.
It's on IMDb.
There you go. Yep, there's images up online. Images from Doctor Strange and Mr. Norrell BBC. That's been filmed at the moment.
Adam Bentley has been cast as a member of Parliament, and Ronan Vibert is Lord Wellington.
So Eddie Marsden is playing Mr. Norrell, and Bertie Carvel is playing Jonathan Strange. There's no real well-known actors in this so far, but you will know Eddie Marsden if you saw a picture of him. He's been in loads of different things. He was in Sherlock Holmes: The Game of Shadows. He was in The Best Man, The World's End. He was the guy in The World's End. He was the car salesman.
No.
Oh my God, he looks like. Is he playing? If he's playing Mr.
Yeah,
Norrell,
he's Mr. Norrell.
Oh my God, he's exactly how I imagined him. The books are phenomenal. Like it delves into old stories about magic and stuff like that in England, and the Raven King and fairy roads and all this phenomenal stuff. But then you've also got the war with Napoleon and how magic can be used in that, and the British Parliament are kind of discussing it, and you don't send a gentleman to war, but you can send a gentleman who uses magic, and the books are brilliant. It's set across 3 volumes, but you can get you can get all 3 together.
I may stick that on my Christmas list though.
Honest to God, it's just and again, I didn't think I would like it, and I had the book for ages. At this big, it's the kind of book that you could throttle someone to death with. And you just, I had it. I was in work, and I was working in a video store at the time, and I was like, okay, I need something to do during the day. Look, I'll read this book that I got at Christmas, and because it had just sat there, and I was like, oh, these people don't know me at all. This is not my kind of, my kind of fantasy. But oh my God, no, phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
You know who's the king for doing stories in an alternate version of our own universe? And also, generally all set in England, apart from one particular book that I fucking love. Neil Gaiman is king of that shit.
Yeah.
Absolute king of that. Like, you have Neverwhere, American Gods, all of that stuff. Like, American Gods I think I've reread that book. So I've had to buy 4 or 5 copies of that book because every copy I buy, it just falls apart. I read it so much. It's just literally and it's the worst book to bring on holiday, because if you're on a sun holiday and you're sitting on the beach, it just literally disintegrates in your hand. It's like it's not meant to be read more than once because it contains secrets. It's just
this book will self-destruct.
Yeah, it's just so good. And Neverwhere is beautiful. And the great thing about Neverwhere is that it's been adapted a few different times in different medium. But they did an audio play of it recently. The BBC did an audio play of it recently, and the cast was fucking phenomenal. Benedict Cumberbatch, Anthony Stewart Head, James McAvoy. It's just fucking amazing. And if you haven't read it, pick it up and read it. If you haven't listened to the audio play, listen to the audio play. It's phenomenal. It's just great. It's really, really good. But Neil, like everyone generally in our circle of people that we know, or anyone that I generally would listen to me when I say to them, or even people who don't listen to me, I would just shout in their face, read everything Neil Gaiman ever written.
Yeah,
has written.
He's
from his Sandman comics,
writer.
From Sandman comics to the books that he writes, just phenomenal stuff. Like really, really good. And that's proper fantasy that has a root in reality, but also makes reality more fantastic for everyone else.
Yeah.
Specifically, likes of Neverwhere, because it's based in London, and it's the world below London, below the subway and everything. It's amazing. Christopher Lee also is in the audio play as well. So it's just so fucking good. Emma, seriously, seek it out. I may even have it. I could probably send you a link It's
Yeah.
very
Christopher
fucking
Lee is just kind of somebody that you could listen to, do anything. You'd be reading like a lot of other people. You could be reading things out of like a dictionary and be kind
No,
of
I
like
could,
just
Christopher
listening
Lee
for
could read his
hours.
phone book and then jack off to it. Swear to God, it's just amazing.
Since we're on the fantasy path, do you think we're going to get another string of like really piss poor fantasy films after this new trilogy of Middle Earth films? Because that kind of happened back 10 years ago.
We're gonna see. We're gonna see it now. See, This is one thing I'm kind of worried about because the Hunger Games is about to end in a year as well.
Thank
So
fuck.
both
Yes.
the thing is, no, I'm a fan of the Hunger Games, right? But if you think the Hunger Games is bad, right? Wait until the Hunger Games and the Hobbit have disappeared and the floodgates open and everything is adapted. And because everything is adapted, it's all being adapted with half the budget and half the care for casting and stuff.
Well, it's what happened after Harry Potter ended. They start making all these shitty, piss poor, poxy, kiddie type fantasy
Young
films.
adult just
Yeah,
has.
And the
yeah.
thing is, I actually really like Hunger Games, but like it's just like there's a load of them, like sort of Divergent and kind of Maze Runner wasn't particularly good either, and like you're kind of looking at them going, lads, you could write like with the budget you spent on this, you could have given it to someone's script, like you could have given it to someone's unique idea, but instead they're being forced to like release indie films and kind of toil away making fuck all money because you want to be the next Twilight,
Well, it's not even. It's brand recognition about it at the end of the day. They think
Yeah.
that these kids are reading these books and they see the film of it and they're going to go see it. Like I mean, personally, I think anything that looks like a cross between Harry Potter and Twilight, I'll fucking avoid like the plague, like big time. And I find that a lot of these films are like that. And I personally, I think the Hunger Games is overrated tosh.
Oh my God! No,
Absolutely.
some of the best times I ever had in the cinema was actually going to see the last couple of Twilight films because me and my friends got pissed drunk before each one. I mean, we were totally bleary-eyed. I don't even remember how getting to the cinema and then sitting it and laughing for the entire time because
If I went to
when
see
you're
Twilight
really
drunk, I would
drunk,
have just vomited.
when you're really drunk, everything sounds like it's like porn script.
Because it was.
Everything. I'm sure
It's
most
just,
of it probably
yeah.
was, but it's so funny. And like they open their mouths and just start laughing hysterically. And like it's supposed to be a really intense, serious scene. And like me and your friends
Summer
are
as
just
bad
like
as that was.
hanging off the chair, just pissing ourselves laughing. It was
I've had
fantastic.
I've had more intense trips to the toilet than Twilight movies.
Yeah. I really like, particularly with Hunger Games. Like, I was saying this to people before that like, what kind of like us kind of like people who are over 20, excluded.
Thanks.
I'm
so close. I'm
know,
19.
Yeah, almost there.
Fuck off your youth.
Like we look at it and we see all the influences. We see stuff like Rollerball, Running Man, Battle Royale. We see that. But the thing, sorry, is
Blade
that
Runner.
we see all those films because we grew up with them. We grew up in the age of video stores where you walk into a video store and they were all on a shelf and stuff, and you just picked one out, being like, "Oh, check this out."
Sorry, Anton, did you say video stores?
Video stores, yes. So,
just to add, some age to your argument there. Some of the
video stores where you used to go in and you used to have to pay money, and if the film was shit, you just lived with it. Like,
and you have to, and sometimes you have to rewind the tapes because.
Oh Jesus!
Oh my God!
I worked in an Extravision, and that was like I made a point of finding motherfuckers who didn't rewind the tapes. I was that.
God
If anyone
bless
out there is listening to this and they go, "That prick, that was me," right? Because Extravision staff never enforced that, but I hated the motherfuckers who came in and was like, "Oh yeah, I didn't bother rewinding it." Right, 50p goes on your account, motherfucker, because you didn't rewind this tape. It says it on the tape. If you don't do it, fuck you.
I remember renting out like Sega Mega Drive games for like 2 nights. I remember we used to do, it'd be one night if I didn't do so well in school, but it'd be 2 nights if I did well in school. Man, those were good weekends. But yeah, no, like I remember back in the day, like for us, like going to the video store, like you'd see all these films on the shelf and you just pick one out, stuff like Blade Runner and Battle Royale and those kind of films. Like you discover them through that means, or they would be on like a Film 4 marathon, or like they'd be on TV late one night and you just watch it because you just read like sci-fi action. The thing is now is that younger people, the younger nerdy people who are into that sort of stuff, they don't have that gateway. But what they do have is films that are very directly influenced by it. And if they go to see stuff like Hunger Games and go, I want to see a film like that, and they go online searching for something that's like Hunger Games, they're eventually going to end up in that street going straight for stuff like Battle Royale again. And as far as I'm concerned, like, if it's a gateway for them, there's no harm being done. You know?
You know what? I saw that was a dangerous gateway. Now, it was dangerous as in people were going from Twilight, right?
Yeah.
And Twilight was released and all the DVDs came out and whatever the fuck, and you had Robert Pattinson and Kirsten Stewart's face plastered all over them.
At least
There's
Robert
a
Pattinson
vampire-
is, like, distance himself from it. He willfully hates it. So.
Yeah, I know that. But his face was everywhere, and the design of the characters and the way they looked and the way they were being promoted, right?
Yeah.
There's an amazing Western vampire film directed by the director of The Hurt Locker called Near Dark.
Yes,
yeah, what a
that is the most amazing film ever.
Right.
It's absolutely fantastic.
They took Near Dark and re-released it with a cover that looked like Twilight.
Oh.
Oh,
There's actually an image
good.
of it's the guy who plays General Talbot in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
Adrian Passadar, I think is his name. He's very young in the film. Bill Paxton's in it. Lance Hendrickson's in it.
Yeah.
And it's a great movie. And it's well worth
Particularly
checking
if you've seen The Lost Boys and you haven't seen Near Dark is pretty much the perfect companion film to
Yeah.
The Lost Boys.
Yeah. So they re-released Near Dark recently, and you can buy it now for like something like £5 in HMV on a video on DVD.
Yeah.
And the cover that's available now, it looks like it's like part of the Twilight series. They've taken the main male character and who is actually the victim in this.
Oh my god! I'll throw it into the podcast so people can
Yeah.
see it themselves. Jesus fuck! It's literally it's the Twilight movie poster
Yeah.
ripped off.
Can you pop the URL in the chatter deck?
I will, yeah. Holy
But the
shit!
film it's got nothing. It's not anything like Twilight at all.
No.
The male character in the story is the victim who gets
Yeah.
slowly is starting to get turned.
yeah.
So
See, the funny thing is there, right, is that they could have very easily... there's already an older vampire film that has that boyish good look to it. It's called Interview with a Vampire. And that's you could very, very easily sell that as like an older school Twilight. Like even the narrative kind of fits into it a little bit. Like
I reckon Anne Rice came out and said, if you motherfuckers rebrand my fucking story as a Twilight franchise, I will castrate you. I guarantee that's what she said.
I will go back to writing books about Jesus.
I mean, I loved Interview with a Vampire when I first saw it. I saw it in the cinema.
I still love it. Did you see where Brad Pitt's it is Brad Pitt, and he's like he's walking around and your man's like you're gonna start seeing the world differently for the first time, and the statue starts looking at him and stuff.
Yeah.
Just incredible. Like the imagery is just like so on point, and the whole what era were they in? They were in, was it 1800s or the 1700s?
Yeah, New Orleans in the 1800s, plantation era.
Yeah, and like I'm
Thanks, Colonel.
but like that whole like how they got the aesthetic of that down for particularly for a vampire, for a kind of pseudo romantic vampire story.
Yeah,
just on point entirely. Like, it's still a great film. If you haven't seen it, see it.
And it was a good adaptation of the book as well. That's a fantasy series, a vampire fantasy series that revigorated vampire stories for a lot of people as well.
Like Buffy wouldn't exist without
Buffy
wouldn't have existed without Anne Rice. Like, because Anne Rice was the one who kind of like made vampires cool again in the 90s, and then Joss was like.
But she didn't. She kind of reinvented them as well. Like, you know, she took this idea of kind of, you know, Bram Stoker's Dracula, you know, a count, and then kind of going, hang on a second, why don't we kind of create this kind of aristocracy of vampires?
Yeah. Which is very like the Master in Buffy's first arc. Like, it kind of feeds into that.
She definitely romanticized vampires. You can definitely thank her for that.
Oh, she did.
She made them these objects of desire, even though that general theme always ran through the vampire story. But she definitely made them these pretty boys that everyone.
But that's it. But they weren't. But they were pretty. But her vampires are still monsters.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like you have when he first, you know, when Louis first turned, he's resisting the feed.
Yeah.
He's resisting
He
the
doesn't want
drive and
to.
the hunger and
It's
the blood.
morally like he's like, this is morally wrong. I don't want to be a killer. But they're like, you are a killer now. You're not. Like, sorry, but the choice has been made. You're a bloodsucking vampire. Deal with it or die.
Deal with it.
Declan, how are the gay undertones or even forced hammer blows in that film?
Look,
viewed?
I'll put it this way, right? I think that movie made me gay. Because now I don't like Tom Cruise, but I remember watching that movie and kind of going, firstly, I wanted to be Kirsten Dunst, because she was this, she was playing a character that was at the same age as I was when I was watching the movie. By the way, behind my parents' back, it's not like my parents put me down, watch that thing on the ground.
Here, look, right. Back in
But-
the day, we all like waited until the parents were out working or going to the shop, and we were straight into those 15s and 18s videos when we were
No,
like,
my dad
Yeah.
plied me with them when I was about 12, 13. Hence, I
well,
am man
at
today.
that point, I didn't, don't we?
Wait, he called the VCR baby and just walked out.
Those
you were
films were
paid,
so-
you were
Those
made it.
horror deals in Extra Vision at Halloween time, 50p horror movies, they were my babysitter.
Oh, we had a deal that was it was three films for 7 days for I can't remember how much it was, but my dad would always let me pick out one, and my one was always like I would just go up to the horror section, a film that I hadn't seen, and just pick it up and be like, that was it then. And he would always be like, for the first while he was like, Dewey, it's the only kind of film you want to watch. I just kind of have to, don't I? Fine.
Don't go killing the neighbor's cat.
Yeah.
Start ranting.
Guys, this is we've veered off. Well, we're still on fantasy, but we've dipped our toes into the darker side of fantasy. So I do think we should wrap it up. Does anybody have any closing words?
I would suggest, if you're into vampire films, We Are the Night. It's German.
Yeah.
That is
Very
fantastic. Also, there's a Harsh Light of Day and Midnight
John
Sun. Not
Carpenter's
to be.
Vampires is pretty good for the tongue.
Yeah, that's really good as
The
well.
tongue is firmly planted in the cheek in that movie.
But if you go in knowing you're not getting 100% like sincere, it is sincere vampire film. But if you go in knowing you're getting like a mildly satirical look at vampires, it's a very, very good watch. And
Best-
From Dusk Till Dawn, you cannot forget From Dusk
Best
Till Dawn.
vampire movie I've seen in a very, very long time, and I think Anto will back me up on this, is Stakeland.
Oh yeah, fucking incredible film.
I keep meaning to check it out. I haven't. It's on Netflix,
It is, yeah.
I think. I keep meaning to check it out, but I just haven't.
It's good stuff. I really want to check out the From Dusk Till Dawn TV series as well. I haven't bothered with it
I
yet.
heard it's muck.
Yeah, I'm afraid of watching it and being like, no.
If I was to recommend a fantasy book to anyone, I've already I gave Declan The Copper Promise. Everyone should be reading that book. The Copper Promise by Jen
I
Williams.
literally
It's-
actually checked the price in Book Depository, which does free delivery everywhere. There you go, here's a cheap free plug, and we're not even sponsored by them. But they're doing it for less than a tenner, so you have no excuse.
well, we're picking up. Also, another one. My good buddy from Pubcast, Darren Fahey, for my birthday 2 years ago, got me The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. It's the start of I think it's the Kingslayer series or something like that. It's a very good book. I've dipped in and out of it. I haven't finished it yet, but I've been slowly. That's my slow read. Oh,
It's all right.
Declan didn't turn off his phone. But yeah, that Copper Promise and The Name of the Wind would be my fantasy book recommendations.
I'd recommend honestly, it may sound a bit elitist, but if you want to get into fantasy or anything, read fantasy books. The fantasy genre, like, although games get close to it and movies get good at it, like, the fantasy genre is something that you have to experience in book form, I think.
Also,
Where it belongs.
comic books. Everyone should be fucking reading Rat Wings. Even
Oh Jesus, yes!
Oh,
How
my
did
God.
we not mention this? Actually, yes, we do, but it has been slightly overshadowed by some drama and controversy.
Let's not drag
No,
that
but
up.
read the comic.
Volume 1 is before all that happened, and it is an incredible read. It is,
And it's a tenner.
and also Saga. While we're at it, Saga is a very good sci-fi fantasy hybrid
Fantasy.
kind of story, and the creators of that aren't involved in any controversy.
And if you feel like fantasy books aren't giving you a go, fucking play some D&D, motherfuckers.
Yeah, man, get on it.
All right,
Or Dragon Age.
you heard it.
Dragon
Or
Age.
Dragon Age. Yeah, Yeah, to play
Fucking
Dragon Age.
play Dragon Age.
And there's actually a Dragon Age RPG book, Games Master.
They
Yeah.
can get it. Get
Oh,
it.
actually, the board game looks fucking deadly.
Okay, I'll add those.
Yeah, the board game was played on Will Wheaton's tabletop. If you wanted a sample of it.
Okay, it's no.
You
Declan,
just
I
put 'em
watched
off
the
it.
episode. It's worth watching.
It is good.
I know, but I just you have to listen to Will Wheaton on it. Like.
Oh,
We all have our crosses to bear.
Yeah.
One of them.
And I do carry Will Wheaton with me everywhere.
Shut up, Will.
All right, guys.
Is this more dwarf prejudiced?
Well, I know you haven't met me in person, Emma, but I'm quite a short man.
He is.
It's probably why I hate dwarves.
It's actually self-loathing.
Oh my god! It's
You're one of them
self-loathing.
self-hating dwarves.
Actually, I'm trans fantasy species. I'm actually an elf born in a dwarf's body.
That reminds me of in The Simpsons, where the episode where Lisa gets her fortune read, and there's Wiggum going around the thing. It's like rabbit born with the head of a dog, born with the head of a rabbit.
Oh my god,
I got that wrong, but
Spider Baby.
Spider baby.
That's gonna be the next complaint on the BioWare forums. It's like, yeah, they don't really appreciate transgendery species fantasy. Fucking bio shit, motherfuckers.
Prejudiced. All right. On that controversial note, we'll leave it there. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.